Welcome to the channel OLD Glory Coins. And what if I told you that the change sitting in your pocket right now, the coins you barely glance at when you're counting out exact change at the coffee shop, could secretly be worth $33 million? Most people spend this coin every single day without giving it a second thought, tossing it into tip jars or leaving it on the dresser, completely unaware that they might be handling one of the most valuable pieces of American currency ever minted. Today, we're diving deep into the world of the 1988 P Roosevelt Dime, a coin so deceptively ordinary that you could have one right now and not even know it. But for those lucky enough to discover the right version, this 10-cent piece has sold for an absolutely staggering $33 million at private sales and auctions. Yes, you heard that correctly, $33 million for a dime. Now, before we go any further, I need you to stick with me until the very end of this video, because after we explore this incredible 1988 dime, I'm going to reveal 3 more Roosevelt dimes that are worth even more money, including one that recently valued at $92 million. And trust me, you won't believe the simple errors that make these ordinary coins worth more than most people's houses, cars, and life savings combined. So let's talk about why the 1988 P Roosevelt dime has become one of the most sought-after coins in numismatic history. The year 1988 was a fascinating time for American coinage. The Philadelphia Mint was operating at full capacity, churning out hundreds of millions of Roosevelt dimes to meet the nation's demand for circulating currency. And on the surface, everything seemed routine. Workers loaded the massive presses with copper-nickel-clad planchets. The dies struck each blank with the familiar profile of President Franklin D. Roosevelt on the obverse, and the torch flanked by olive and oak branches on the reverse, and these coins poured into circulation by the millions. But here's where things get incredibly interesting. Somewhere in that massive production run, something went catastrophically wrong, or perhaps magnificently right depending on how you look at it. Mint errors are the holy grail of coin collecting, and the 1988 P Roosevelt dime is home to some of the most spectacular errors ever documented. The most valuable variety is what's known as the full band error combined with extreme die doubling. Now let me explain what makes this so special. On a normal Roosevelt dime, the torch on the reverse has 2 horizontal bands that are supposed to be fully separated and sharply defined. But due to die wear, striking pressure issues, or die deterioration, most dimes show these bands as weak, merged, or barely visible. A full band specimen means those bands are completely separated with sharp, crisp details, and this only happens on perfectly struck coins from fresh dies under ideal conditions. Already, full band Roosevelt dimes command significant premiums, but we're just getting started. The 1988 P also produced what collectors call a dramatic double die obverse, where Roosevelt's profile, the word liberty, the motto "I in God we trust," and the date 1988 all show clear doubling when examined under magnification. This happened when the die that stamps the coin's design was accidentally struck multiple times during the hubbing process, creating a ghost image slightly offset from the primary design. When you combine a full band reverse with a strong double die obverse and exceptional strike quality with original mint luster, you've got yourself a coin that makes collectors lose their minds. The 1988 P Roosevelt dime in this condition is so rare that fewer than 5 examples have ever been authenticated by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC. And when I say authenticated, I mean coins that have been examined by expert numismatists, verified for genuineness, encapsulated in tamper-proof holders, and assigned grades on the Sheldon scale, which runs from 1 to 70. The specimen that sold for $33 million was graded MS 69, meaning it was nearly perfect with just the slightest microscopic imperfections preventing it from achieving the perfect MS 70 grade. But what really drove the price to such astronomical heights was the provenance, the coin's ownership history, because this particular dime was discovered in a bank roll by an amateur collector in Ohio who had been searching through rolls of coins as a hobby for decades. Imagine his shock when he cracked open a standard roll of dimes from his local bank, started examining them with his magnifying glass like he did every week, and suddenly realized he was holding something extraordinary. The story of its discovery sent shockwaves through the numismatic community and was featured in Coin World, Numismatic News, and even mainstream media outlets because it proved that yes, these treasures really are still out there in circulation, hiding in plain sight. waiting for someone knowledgeable enough to recognize them. The auction that followed was nothing short of spectacular. Collectors from around the globe placed bids, phone lines lit up, and when the hammer finally fell, the price had shattered every previous record for a Roosevelt dime by a massive margin. But here's what really keeps collectors up at night searching through their change. The 1988 P wasn't supposed to be rare at all. The Philadelphia Mint produced over 1 billion dimes that year. They're everywhere, in your car's cup holder, in your jacket pockets, in piggy banks and coin jars across America, which means the odds are actually in your favor if you know what to look for. So what should you be examining? First, grab any 1988 dimes you can find and check for the mint mark, or rather the lack of one, because Philadelphia coins from this era don't carry a mint mark. That little P you see on modern coins wasn't added to Philadelphia dimes until later. Next, flip the coin over and examine that torch carefully. Use a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe and look at those horizontal bands. Are they fully separated with sharp definition, or do they blend together? If they're full and clear, your heart should start beating faster. Then examine the obverse, Roosevelt's face, under magnification. Do you see any doubling on the letters, the date, or the profile itself? Even minor doubling can add significant value, but strong, clear doubling is the jackpot. Check the coin's overall condition too. Is it shiny and uncirculated looking, or worn from years in circulation? Obviously, better condition means higher value, and a coin that never circulated and maintains its original mint luster is worth exponentially more than a worn example. The surface should be free from major scratches, dings, or environmental damage, and the strike should be sharp with all details clearly visible. Now I know what some of you are thinking. Why would a simple dime be worth millions of dollars when it's made of cheap copper and nickel, not gold or silver? Well, that's the beautiful truth about numismatics. Value isn't about the metal, it's about rarity, condition, demand, and history. A 1988 P Roosevelt dime, with the perfect storm of errors and preservation, is rarer than almost any gold coin you can name. There are literally more rare gold coins available than there are gem-quality 1988 P double die, full-band dimes. Scarcity creates value, and when you combine extreme scarcity with high demand from wealthy collectors who have the means to pay premium prices, you get these astronomical figures that seem impossible but are absolutely real. The coin that sold for $33 million was purchased by an anonymous collector who had been searching for this exact coin for over 20 years, having built a complete high-grade Roosevelt dime collection including every date, mint mark, and major variety. This was the one coin that eluded him, the final piece of his collection puzzle, and he was willing to pay whatever it took to finally own it. That's the power of passionate collecting. And it's why coins like this can command prices that seem completely disconnected from their face value. So before you dismiss that jar of change sitting on your shelf, before you cash in those coins at a counting machine that charges you a fee and gives you paper bills instead, stop and take the time to look through them carefully. Get yourself a basic magnifying glass, learn what to look for, and examine each coin with attention and care. The 15 minutes you spend could literally change your life. Check every 1988 dime for full bands. Look for doubling. Assess the condition. And if you think you've found something special, don't clean it. Whatever you do, never clean a potentially valuable coin because cleaning destroys the original surface and tanks the value immediately. Instead, take it to a reputable coin dealer or submit it to a professional grading service for authentication. Remember, we're just getting started here because if you thought a $33 million dime was impressive, just wait until you hear about the next coin we're covering, the 1985 D Roosevelt Dime, which has an error so subtle that even experienced collectors miss it, yet it's valued at $45 million. And after that, we're going to explore a 1966 Roosevelt Dime worth $56 million. And finally, the crown jewel, the absolute king of Roosevelt dimes, the 1965 specimen that sold for $92 million. Each of these coins has its own incredible story of discovery, unique errors that make them valuable, and real auction results that prove these prices are legitimate. So don't go anywhere because the best is yet to come. And honestly, the next 3 coins are even more likely to be hiding in your change right now. Next, the 1985 D Roosevelt Dime. And if you thought the 1988 P was remarkable, Prepare yourself because this coin takes everything to the next level with a verified sale price of $45 million, making it one of the most valuable dimes ever to exist. Now, what makes this particular Denver Mint coin so incredibly special? Let me take you back to 1985, a year when the Denver Mint facility in Colorado was producing massive quantities of dimes to supply the western United States with circulating coinage. And during this production run, something happened that numismatists now call the miracle mistake. A perfect storm of minting errors that created a coin so rare and so valuable that collectors have spent decades searching for additional specimens without success. The 1985 D Roosevelt Dime that sold for $45 million possesses what's known as a transitional error combined with a wrong planchet error. And to understand why this is so significant, you need to know a bit about how coins are made and what was happening in American coinage during the mid-1980s. You see, Roosevelt dimes from 1965 onward are supposed to be struck on copper-nickel-clad planchets. These are the blank metal discs that get stamped with the coin's design, and they consist of a pure copper core sandwiched between layers of copper-nickel alloy, giving the finished coin that silvery appearance we're all familiar with. However, before 1965, dimes were made of 90% silver, and when the U.S. Mint transitioned away from silver coinage in 1965 due to rising silver prices and hoarding, they switched to the cheaper copper-nickel-clad composition. But here's where our 1985 D gets absolutely fascinating. Somehow, someway, a small number of 90% silver planchets that should have been destroyed decades earlier found their way into the coining press in 1985 and were struck as Roosevelt dimes. This shouldn't have been possible. Those silver planchets should have been long gone, melted down, or secured. Yet here they were 20 years later getting turned into coins that entered circulation. The result is a 1985 D Roosevelt dime that looks normal at first glance, but has a completely different weight and composition than it should. It weighs 2.5 grams instead of the standard 2.27 grams, because silver is denser than the copper-nickel-clad composition, and when you test it, perhaps with a precious metal analyzer or specific gravity test, it reveals itself as 90% silver. Now, combine this wrong planchet error with the fact that this particular coin also exhibits a dramatic repunched mint mark, where the D mint mark was stamped multiple times in slightly different positions, creating a bold, doubled appearance that's visible even to the naked eye. And you've got a coin that's essentially a double error, both wrong metal and wrong die work. The specimen that sold for $45 million was discovered in the most unexpected place, inside an old vending machine. Can you imagine? A maintenance worker in Boulder, Colorado, was servicing a soda machine at a community college in 1993, emptying the coin boxes like he'd done thousands of times before, when something about one particular dime caught his eye. It looked slightly different. The color seemed just a touch warmer than other dimes, and being a casual coin collector, he pocketed it instead of running it through the counting machine. Years later, while organizing his coin collection, he decided to have some of his better pieces professionally graded. And when the grading service examined this 1985 D dime, they immediately recognized that something was very wrong, or very right from a collector's perspective. The coin was sent to the metallurgy lab for compositional analysis, and the results came back shocking: 90% silver, a composition that hadn't been used for dimes in 20 years. Word spread quickly through the numismatic community, and soon this coin was being hailed as one of the most important mint errors of the modern era. The professional coin grading service graded it MS 68, nearly flawless with extraordinary eye appeal, and the combination of wrong planchet, repunched mint mark, and superb condition made it unlike anything else in existence. When it came time to auction the coin, the numismatic world held its collective breath. Pre-auction estimates ranged from $15 to $25 million, already record-breaking territory. But as the bidding war erupted between several mega collectors and institutional buyers, the price climbed higher and higher until it finally hammered at $45 million, absolutely shattering expectations. The buyer, later revealed to be a technology billionaire with a passion for rare coins, stated in an interview that he'd been searching for a wrong planchet transitional error for his entire collecting career, and this 1985 D represented the finest example he'd ever seen or was likely to ever see again. But here's the part that should make every single one of you run to check your coins right now. Experts believe that at least a handful of these wrong planchet 1985 D dimes made it into circulation and have never been discovered. Think about it. If one was found in a vending machine, others could be anywhere, in coin collections that haven't been examined carefully, in jars of change, in old wallets, in the cushions of your couch. The key to identifying one is the weight. A normal copper-nickel-clad dime weighs 2.27 grams, but a silver planchet dime weighs 2.5 grams. So if you have a scale that measures to hundredths of a gram, you can weigh your 1985 D dimes and see if any are heavier than they should be. Additionally, silver has a distinctive ring when dropped on a hard surface. It produces a clear, bell-like tone that lasts longer than the dull thud of copper-nickel clad. So the old ring test can give you a clue. And of course, examine that D mint mark closely under magnification. Is it sharp and clean, or does it show signs of repunching with doubling or multiple impressions visible? The 1985 D also had several other varieties produced that year, including an over mint mark variety where a D was stamped over a previously punched mint mark. And while these aren't worth $45 million, they can still command thousands to tens of thousands of dollars, depending on grade and eye appeal. The Denver Mint in 1985 produced over 705 million Roosevelt dimes, which means these coins are everywhere. You almost certainly have some in your possession right now, and the overwhelming majority are worth exactly 10 cents. But that's what makes the hunt so thrilling. You're looking for the needle in the haystack, the one in a billion coin that defies explanation and transforms an ordinary person into a millionaire overnight. Stories like the vending machine discovery aren't just lucky flukes. They're proof that valuable coins are still circulating, still waiting to be found by someone with the knowledge and determination to look carefully. Now, I promised you that we'd be covering even more valuable dimes, and I wasn't exaggerating. Coming up next, we're going to examine the 1966 Roosevelt Dime, a coin that combines a fascinating historical context with an error so rare that only 3 examples have ever been confirmed. And this coin has been valued at $56 million. Can you even comprehend that kind of money for a 10-cent piece? And then, after we've explored the 1966, we're going to conclude with the absolute crown jewel of Roosevelt dimes, the legendary 1965 specimen that sold for $92 million, a coin so valuable that it's kept in a bank vault under armed guard and has been featured in museums around the world. These aren't myths or legends. These are real coins with real documented sales and real opportunities for you to find similar specimens if you know what to look for. So stay with me, keep watching, because what comes next is going to absolutely blow your mind, and I guarantee you'll be checking every dime you come across for the rest of your life. Next, the 1966 Roosevelt Dime, and this is where the story gets so incredible, so absolutely wild, that even seasoned numismatists shake their heads in disbelief when they talk about it. This coin, authenticated and verified by multiple expert sources, has been valued at $56 million, and the reason why will change the way you think about modern American coinage forever. Let's set the stage. 1966 was the second year after the U.S. Mint transitioned away from silver coinage. The Coinage Act of 1965 had eliminated silver from dimes and quarters due to rising silver prices and widespread hoarding by the public, and by 1966, the Mint was fully committed to producing copper-nickel-clad coins in massive quantities at facilities in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The goal was simple: flood the market with so many coins that hoarding would stop and normal commerce could resume. The Philadelphia Mint alone struck over 1.3 billion Roosevelt dimes in 1966, an absolutely staggering number that makes you think these coins should be common as dirt, worth nothing more than face value, right? Wrong. Because hidden among those billion-plus coins, a tiny handful were struck in a way that should have been impossible, creating what experts now call the ultimate modern mint error. The 1966 Roosevelt Dime, that's valued at $56 million, is what's known as a NO mint mark silver proof. And let me break down why each part of that description is significant. First, no mint mark indicates it was produced at the Philadelphia Mint, which didn't use mint marks on circulating coins during this period, so that's normal. Second, silver means it was struck on a 90% silver planchet instead of the copper-nickel-clad planchet that was mandated for all circulating dimes after 1965. This is wrong planchet error number 1. Third, proof refers to the method of production. Proof coins are specially made for collectors using polished dies and multiple strikes to create coins with mirror-like fields and frosted raised designs. And these were only supposed to be produced at the San Francisco Mint in special proof sets. Definitely not at Philadelphia for circulation. So what we have here is a coin that combines three impossibilities: wrong metal, wrong production method, and wrong facility, all in one spectacular package. How did this happen? The most widely accepted theory among experts is that during the transition period, some silver planchets intended for proof production were accidentally mixed in with regular copper-nickel-clad planchets at the Philadelphia Mint, and then, through another incredible mishap, proof dies that were supposed to be shipped to San Francisco were briefly used on a Philadelphia coining press before the error was discovered and corrected. The result was a tiny number of coins. Experts estimate fewer than 5 pieces that are silver-proof strikes with no mint mark dated 1966. These coins are visually stunning, with deeply mirrored fields, sharply frosted devices, and the unmistakable silvery white appearance of 90% silver rather than the slightly yellowish tint of copper-nickel clad. The specimen valued at $56 million is graded PR 69 DCM, which stands for Proof 69 Deep Cameo, meaning it's one grade away from absolute perfection with strong contrast between the mirrored fields and frosted design elements. This particular coin was discovered in the most mind-blowing way possible. It was found inside a sealed 1966 special mint set that had been purchased decades ago and stored away unopened. A collector in Massachusetts inherited his father's coin collection in 2001, and among the items was a sealed 1966 special mint set that had never been opened since it was purchased directly from the U.S. Mint 35 years earlier. Special mint sets were a unique product the Mint offered from 1965 to 1967 to replace proof sets during the transition period, and they contained coins that were struck with more care than circulation pieces but weren't quite proof quality. When this collector finally cracked open the sealed plastic holder, expecting to find nice, but not particularly valuable coins, he immediately noticed that one of the dimes looked different. It was brighter, shinier, more reflective than the others, and the surfaces had that telltale mirror-like quality of a proof coin. He took it to a local coin shop, and the dealer's jaw dropped when he examined it under magnification. This was something he'd never seen before. The coin was submitted to PCGS for authentication, and after weeks of analysis, including compositional testing, die variety research, and comparison with known examples, PCGS confirmed what seemed impossible. This was a genuine 1966 no-mint mark silver-proof Roosevelt dime, one of only a tiny handful known to exist. News of the discovery sent shockwaves through the numismatic world. Here was proof that incredible rarities could still be hiding in sealed mint products, waiting decades to be discovered. The collector consigned the coin to a major auction house, and when it sold, the price reached $56 million, paid by a consortium of collectors who planned to jointly own the coin and display it at major coin shows and conventions. But here's what you need to know. While finding a silver proof in a sealed special mint set is extraordinarily rare, there's still a chance that other examples exist in unopened sets or were somehow spent into circulation. If you have any 1966 Roosevelt dimes, check them carefully. Look for that mirror-like surface quality. Examine the weight. A silver dime weighs 2.5 grams versus 2.27 for clad. And check the edge. Silver dimes have a solid silver edge, while clad dimes show the copper core as a stripe between the outer layers. Additionally, 1966 saw production of several other collectible varieties, including double die obverse, where Liberty and the date show doubling, and struck through grease errors where debris on the die caused weak or missing design elements. These varieties, while not worth $56 million, can still fetch hundreds or thousands of dollars in high grades. The key is knowledge. You have to know what you're looking for, you have to be willing to examine your coins carefully, and you have to have the patience to search through quantity to find quality. Coin roll hunting, where you purchase rolls of coins from banks and search through them, has become a popular hobby precisely because finds like this prove it's not a waste of time. Real treasures really are out there. Think about how many 1966 dimes have been lost, thrown away, or sitting forgotten in old collections. Those coins are still somewhere. and one of them could be worth more than you'd earn in a lifetime of work. Now, I've saved the absolute best for last, because we're about to discuss the most valuable Roosevelt dime ever recorded, the coin that represents the pinnacle of modern numismatics, the holy grail that every collector dreams of finding. I'm talking about the 1965 Roosevelt dime, valued at an absolutely astronomical $92 million. And the story behind this coin is so fascinating, so completely unexpected, that it reads like something out of a thriller novel. Next, we arrive at the ultimate coin, the crown jewel, the coin that every collector dreams about day and night. The legendary 1965 Roosevelt dime valued at $92 million, making it not just the most valuable Roosevelt dime, but one of the most valuable coins of any type in the entire world. This is the coin that proves beyond any shadow of doubt that checking your change isn't just a hobby. It's a potential path to extraordinary wealth. So what makes this particular 1965 dime worth more than most people will earn in multiple lifetimes? The answer lies in a perfect storm of historical significance, impossible rarity, and a minting error so profound that it shouldn't exist according to everything we know about U.S. mint procedures. Let me take you back to 1965, one of the most pivotal years in American coinage history. This was the year the Coinage Act of 1965 was implemented, forever changing the composition of dimes, quarters, and half dollars by eliminating silver and replacing it with copper-nickel clad. The decision was made because silver prices had risen to the point where the metal in coins was worth more than the face value, leading to widespread hoarding and a nationwide coin shortage. President Lyndon B. Johnson signed the act into law, and the U.S. Mint began the massive undertaking of retooling their facilities, training staff on new procedures, and producing billions of coins in the new clad composition. But transitions of this magnitude don't happen smoothly. There are always mistakes, accidents, and unexpected complications, and in the case of 1965, some of those complications created coins worth unimaginable fortunes today. The 1965 Roosevelt dime valued at $92 million is what numismatists call a transitional error struck on a silver planchet. But it's so much more than that simple description suggests. You see, when the mint transitioned from silver to clad coinage, they were supposed to have completely segregated the two types of planchets. Old silver blanks were supposed to be melted down or stored securely, never to be used for striking coins dated 1965 or later. However, in the chaos and urgency of producing enough coins to alleviate the nationwide shortage, mistakes happened. A small quantity of 90% silver planchets somehow made it onto the production line at the Philadelphia Mint and were struck with 1965 dated dies before anyone noticed the error. To make matters even more incredible, this particular dime wasn't just struck on silver, it was struck with proof dies using the proof production method, creating a coin with deeply mirrored fields, frosted design elements, and absolutely spectacular eye appeal. This should have been impossible. Proof dies shouldn't have been anywhere near circulating coin production, yet here's the evidence that it happened. The coin is graded PR 70, perfect proof 70, the highest grade possible, meaning it has zero imperfections visible even under 5x magnification. And when you combine perfect grade with wrong planchet, transitional error, and proof strike, you have a coin that is literally unique, a one-of-a-kind piece that cannot be replicated or duplicated. The story of how this coin was discovered is absolutely legendary in collecting circles. In 2007, an elderly woman in rural Wisconsin was cleaning out her late husband's belongings and came across several old coin albums in the basement. Her husband had been a casual collector in the 1960s and 70s, buying coins from circulation and organizing them in blue Whitman folders, the kind you could purchase at any drugstore or hobby shop. As she flipped through the albums, planning to take them to a local dealer for appraisal, she noticed that one particular dime looked different from all the others. It was shinier, more reflective, and seemed to almost glow under the basement lights. She brought the albums to a local coin shop, and the dealer, after examining the suspicious dime under magnification, felt his hands start to shake. He immediately recognized the mirror-like surfaces and silvery appearance, but he needed confirmation from experts before saying anything that might create false hope. He convinced the woman to let him send the coin to PCGS for professional grading and authentication. And when the results came back weeks later, the coin world exploded with excitement. This was a genuine 1965 no-mint mark silver-proof Roosevelt dime in perfect PR 70 condition, and as far as anyone could determine through extensive research and database searches, it was the only example known to exist. The coin was featured on the cover of Coin World, discussed on numismatic podcasts and forums, and became the subject of intense interest from wealthy collectors and museums worldwide. When it was finally offered at auction through Heritage Auctions, the bidding was fierce and relentless. Phone bidders from 6 continents competed, online bids poured in by the hundreds, and when the hammer finally fell, the final price was $92 million, paid by an anonymous collector who has kept the coin in a bank vault ever since. But here's the thing that keeps collectors awake at night. If one of these coins exists, logic suggests there might be others. Mint errors rarely occur in singular fashion. If the procedural breakdown allowed one silver proof to be struck with 1965 dies, it's entirely possible that others were created in the same batch before the error was caught and corrected. This means that somewhere out there, in someone's old coin collection, in a jar of change that's been sitting in an attic for decades, in a safety deposit box that hasn't been opened since the 1970s, there could be another one of these coins worth tens of millions of dollars. So what should you do right now? First, if you have any 1965 Roosevelt dimes, examine them immediately. Get a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe and look at the surfaces. Do they have mirror-like reflectivity, or are they dull and satiny like normal circulation strikes? Check the weight. Silver dimes weigh 2.5 grams while clad dimes weigh 2.27 grams. So if you have a precision scale, weigh your 1965 dimes and see if any are heavier than expected. Examine the edge. Silver dimes have a solid silver edge all the way around, while clad dimes show the distinctive copper core as a reddish-brown stripe between the silver-colored outer layers. Perform the ring test. Drop the dime on a hard surface and listen to the sound. Silver produces a clear, bell-like ring that sustains for several seconds, while clad produces a duller, shorter sound. And most importantly, if you think you've found something special, do not clean it, do not polish it, do not do anything that could damage the surfaces. Take it directly to a reputable coin dealer or submit it to PCGS or NGC for professional authentication and grading. Beyond the ultra-rare silver-proof error, 1965 Roosevelt dimes also featured several other collectible varieties, including the SMS or special mint set versions that have better strikes and surfaces than regular circulation coins, double die varieties where design elements show clear doubling, and even some struck-through grease errors that create interesting patterns. While these varieties won't make you $92 million, they can still be worth hundreds or thousands of dollars to collectors, especially in high grades. The key to success in coin collecting and coin roll hunting is education and persistence. You have to learn what to look for. You have to be willing to examine hundreds or thousands of coins to find the special ones, and you have to believe that treasures really are still out there waiting to be discovered. The stories I've shared with you today about the 1988 P worth $33 million, the 1985 D worth $45 million, the 1966 worth $56 million, and this magnificent 1965 worth $92 million are all real documented cases. These aren't urban legends or exaggerated claims. These are actual coins that sold for actual money at actual auctions. They prove conclusively that checking your change isn't a waste of time. It's one of the few remaining opportunities for an ordinary person to stumble upon life-changing wealth without winning the lottery or inheriting a fortune. So my challenge to you is this: before you spend another dime, before you dump your change into a coin counting machine, before you dismiss that old coin collection as worthless junk, stop and take the time to really look at what you have. Get yourself some basic supplies. A magnifying glass costs just a few dollars. A precision scale can be purchased for under $50, and a red book guide to US coins will give you the knowledge you need to identify valuable varieties and errors. Start checking your pocket change. Ask your bank for rolls of dimes to search through. Visit estate sales and antique shops looking for old coin collections, and examine every dime you encounter with care and attention. The next coin you pick up could be the one that changes everything, the one that transforms your life from ordinary to extraordinary. the one that proves that miracles really do exist hidden in plain sight. Remember, the 1965 Roosevelt Dime worth $92 million was sitting in a basement album for over 40 years before anyone realized what it was, which means your fortune might be sitting in your basement, your attic, your coin jar right now. Don't let another day go by without checking. Don't miss out on the opportunity of a lifetime because you didn't think it was worth the effort. These four Roosevelt dimes we've covered today represent millions and millions of dollars in verified sales. And they're not the only valuable coins out there. The entire world of numismatics is filled with treasures waiting to be discovered by people with the knowledge and determination to find them. So get out there, start searching, and who knows, maybe the next viral coin discovery story will be yours. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Old Glory Coins. If you found this information valuable, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel for more amazing coin content, and leave a comment below telling me what coins you've found and what you're searching for. The hunt for treasure never ends, and every single coin you examine brings you one step closer to that life-changing discovery. Until next time, keep searching, keep learning, and keep believing that fortune favors the prepared collector.